What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel that we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories from Marvel to DC and even IDW. But today, we are going to jump back over to Marvel and we're going to cover a two-part story that gives us the first introduction of Black Cat in Marvel Comics. Now, if you are new to Marvel Comics, Black Cat is an ally, sometimes a villain, and sometimes a girlfriend to Peter Parker Spider-Man. But this storyline right here is the first time she ever appeared in Marvel Comics. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book videos like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, let's dive into Black Cat first appearance in Marvel Comics. So we pick up with the Black Cat in the very beginning of the story, where we find out that this is her first night out being a criminal, or being Black Cat at all actually. Where we see that she is breaking into the police headquarters looking for something important. And she shows us that the reason why she broke into this building was that she was looking for files on certain people. After getting those files, she dips out and she then heads over somewhere else in New York, where there are two men loading up a truck with a bunch of tires. Now, we do not get the chance to know if these two men are actually stealing the tires or just doing honest work right now, but you have Black Cat attack the men, but her goal is to not capture them or hand them over to the police. Instead, she came here to recruit one of the two men. The man she does recruit is Bruno, and he joins her. Then we jump over to this military base, where we see a man named Boris Corpse is breaking into this military base to steal some stuff. But just like Bruno, he is recruited by Black Cat as well. This is where we pick up with Peter Parker checking up on Aunt May, because at this point in Marvel Comics, she was actually staying in a nursery home and Peter came by every day to check up on her to see how she is doing. But the most important part of this section of the story is that we jump over to the office of Dr. Reinhardt, who runs the nursery home. Except we see that he has a visitor in his office. It is the burglar who shot Uncle Ben all those years ago. Marvel brought him back in the storyline to now go after Aunt May because she knows something he wants. And so he is forcing Dr. Reinhardt to help him get to Aunt May. This leads us over to the Daily Bugle, where we get an idea of what is currently happening with the characters tied to the Daily Bugle. First up, you have Betty Brant and Ned Lead arguing, and at this point in Marvel Comics, they are married. But since Ned has been gone for so long on assignments for his job, Betty Brant started to gain feelings for Peter Parker again, and Ned Lead found out, and so he is upset by it. Now, the most important part of this section is where we pick up with Robbie Robertson and J. Jonah Jameson talking about how Peter Parker was fired from the Daily Bugle. Well, Peter ended up working for the rival newspaper and he is now giving them exclusive photos of Spider-Man. And so now their rival company, which is called the Daily Globe, looks better than them because of the photos. Except this is where you have Spider-Man stop by, because in a previous story we were told that J. Jonah Jameson unmasked Spider-Man and should know that Peter is Spider-Man. And so Peter stopped by to see if Jonah knows that he is Spider-Man. But the way Jonah talks towards Spider-Man, he does not know, but he tells Spider-Man that he has a surprise for him. Now, this is where we see Peter Parker go to his new job at the Daily Globe, and we see that his job is treating him better than the Daily Bugle ever had, and he has his own office and his boss actually loves him. And this does seem that Spider-Man life is kind of turning around for him because he's getting paid more here than he was at the Daily Bugle. This leads into Peter Parker leaving his new job and goes on to be Spider-Man for the night, where of course he runs into the Black Cat for the first time. Now she does not see him, but something tells him that he should follow her because it does seem like she could be up to something. And so you have Spider-Man follow her, and where he sees her meeting up with a man named Emil Greco, wondering why she is meeting up with this man in the first place, where we come to find out that they are making a trade here. She has money and he has the weapons that she needs. And so with Spider-Man hearing that, of course, he jumps in to stop them. This of course leads into the first time Spider-Man has to fight against the Black Cat, where we see that she is a capable fighter and able to go toe to toe with Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man knows he cannot just do his usual moves to defeat her. He has to actually try to adapt to the way she fights to win. Except Black Cat does knock him down for a moment to go back and tell Emil Greco that he needs to go before Spider-Man comes back for round 2. Which, right after she says that, Spider-Man is back for round 2 and ready to go again. Of course, this leads into him trying to chase her down, and he is able to corner her in an alleyway. This is where she goes on to explain how she loves Spider-Man, how she is a big fan of his, but she starts to say different things where it makes Spider-Man think that she is doing two things. One, giving up, and two, trying to go home with him. The reason why I said she is doing this is because she moves closer to him, pushes his mask halfway up and gives him a kiss. And since this kiss caught him off guard, he did not see Black Cat grab the guns, but he was still so dazed by the kiss, he let her leave with the guns and goes on with her day. But after she leaves, we see her go back to her base, where she is greeted by Bruno and Boris, the two men she recruited earlier in the video. And she tells them that they're going to help her break someone out of prison. And so this is where we jump over to Peter Parker the next day, where he is confronted by Ned Leeds, because Ned Leeds thinks that Peter Parker wants his wife, Betty Brant. And so you have Peter Parker tell Ned Leeds that he does not want Betty and really wants to be left alone. And to continue with the idea of the fact that Peter Parker is having a bad day, that is when he runs into Harry Osborn and Flash Thompson. And they are also upset with Peter Parker because they had planned a party for him, and Peter did not show up to it. And so they want Peter to apologize for not showing up. Except Peter does the opposite of that and asks to be left alone. Now we see Peter go to his office at his new job, and he is just doing some work around there. That is when the news on the TV is reporting that someone broke into the police headquarters, which we know that was of course the Black Cat. But you have the news explaining that she took 4 files. The first 2 were about Bruno and Boris, the 2 men she asked to help her earlier in this video. The third file is being Emil Greco, the man she brought guns from earlier in this video. And so this leads into the 4th file being about a man named Walter Hardy. And Walter Hardy is in prison right now. But we do not get the chance to learn much about him just yet. This tells Peter that Black Cat is gonna try to break him out of prison. And so he leaves his job to change into being Spider-Man. We do see that he was right about the fact that Black Cat coming here to break out Walter Hardy out of prison. And so you have Spider-Man and Black Cat begin to battle once again, which you would think that this would be the fight that Spider-Man would be able to stop Black Cat finally. Except while they were fighting, Bruno and Boris were able to climb the building and place a bomb on the wall of the cell room of Walter Hardy. They're going to blast down the wall and get him out. The thing is though, you have Spider-Man jump right where the bomb was placed, and when the bomb goes off, it sends Spider-Man flying and he is knocked out while Black Cat and her team get away. This leads into Spider-Man finally waking back up after being knocked out by the bomb, telling us that one of his arms is broken now, but also he realized that Black Cat has gotten away, and so now he is upset with the fact that she has gotten away and now there's an escaped prisoner. And so you have Spider-Man leave and go home. Now, this broken arm that Peter Parker had just received is going to play a huge role in the ending of this story. For now, you have Peter Parker just go home to rest up. That is when we jump over to the Black Cat meeting up with Bruno and Boris after they were able to get Walter Hardy to safety, where you have Black Cat tell them to hand over Walter and their job is done now. They are no longer needed and she leaves with Walter. Now, while Black Cat is carrying Walter across town, he realizes the way she is able to move reminds him of himself when he was younger. That is when we see Black Cat go to this random house, where you have Walter look so shocked because this is his house, the home he lived in before he went to prison. But before we are able to learn more about why Black Cat brought Walter Hardy to that house, we pick up with Peter Parker at the store, trying to manage his daily life with having a broken arm now, except that is when he is greeted by Ned Leeds once again, and this time he brought Betty Brant with him because he wants Peter to tell Betty that he does not want to be involved with her anymore and does not want to ruin their marriage. Except when Ned Leeds grabbed Peter Parker's broken arm, the pain made Peter Parker very angry, and with him being angry, he goes off and tells Betty Brant that he only used her because Mary Jane and him had some issues, and so that makes Betty angry and she leaves. This is where you have the story shift back over to the Black Cat and Walter Hardy, where you have Black Cat walk into the room of the house and lay Walter on the bed. This is where we learn who the Black Cat truly is. We come to find out that the Black Cat is Walter Hardy's daughter, Felicia Hardy. And honestly, there is no shock there because how old this story truly is. But she tells us that she trained her body to be able to take up the mantle where her father left off at. The reason why she brought him here is because Walter Hardy is dying, and she wants to give him the ability to die in his own home, but to say goodbye to his loved ones as well. That is when Black Cat's mother comes home and you have Felicia tell her mother that there's a surprise waiting for her upstairs, which of course Felicia's mom goes upstairs to see Walter Hardy and spend their last time together. Now that is when you have Felicia Hardy walk outside the house to give her parents some space, only to be greeted by Spider-Man, where Spider-Man tells Felicia Hardy that he was able to figure out where Black Cat would be at by looking up family members of Walter Hardy, where he found out that he had a daughter, and of course, with her being the daughter, Spider-Man knew where to find her, and this begins another fight between the two, except this time, this is the fight that does end up being where we see Spider-Man is able to go toe-to-toe with the Black Cat, that he is trying to defeat her this time. Now to wrap up this story, this leads to them fighting all over the place, but to the point where they both end up hanging from the ledge of the home of the Hardys, where we see that underneath them there is a pond next to the house, but the pond has huge boulders in it. And so if they fall, they will hit those rocks and also drown in the pond. And so you have Spider-Man trying to pull them both up, except the arm he is holding Black Cat with is his broken arm. And so he is having a hard time here, where it leads to him letting her go and she falls into the pond with the boulders, making it seem like that she is now dead. This makes Peter upset because he knows that the reason why Felicia went through all of this was to get a chance to say a final goodbye to her father, only to end up getting her killed. And now her mom has to bury her and her father, because when Peter checks up on Walter, he finds out that he died right after his wife came in the room to see him. And so now Peter Parker has to go home and basically deal with the idea of being responsible for a lady having to bury her daughter after just saying goodbye to her dying husband as well. Now, to close this video, that is when we see Spider-Man get back to his apartment, where it seems like that his day is over, only to find out there is a letter waiting for him. And this letter is telling him that Aunt May has passed away. Remember, she was staying at the nursery home, and now she is gone. And this is where we are going to end today's video. And so guys, please leave me a like down below, and also subscribe for more comic book videos like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.